I was once visiting in Northern Europe and found that people on the street often thought I was one of them. They would come up to me and begin a long conversation, ask me questions and directions. They thought I was one of them until I opened my mouth. In my best attempt at the local language, I would tell them that I didn't understand a word they were saying. Then the people would smile, wish me well, and walk along. That was a new experience for me, because usually in the lands I visit, I don't look anything like the local people. I never could pass for a Ugandan, or a Cambodian, or a Tahitian. I look entirely different. I began to reflect how lonely strangers must feel, strangers in a strange land, where they are not understood and they don't understand what is being said around them, where they don't know the people, the customs, the culture of the place. My thoughts wandered back many years to a beautiful Hungarian short story that I had read a long time before, written by one of the great authors, Dezső Kosztolányi. I think it was called Az idegen, the stranger. In this story, a stranger appeared in town, someone unknown to any of the townspeople. This man didn't speak a single word of the local language. All he could do was smile. He didn't understand what was being said around him, and he could not communicate with anyone. No one knew where he was from. They had no idea what sort of language he was babbling in. They had never heard those sounds before. He had no connections, no relations. The townspeople began to talk and wonder about him. All sorts of theories sprang up, stories about his life and his origins. That went on for some years, and nobody was able to get close to the stranger. One day the stranger was not seen. He had taken ill and was in his bed. One morning the stranger died, never having been able to utter a single comprehensible word, nor to understand the words spoken around him. At the moment of his death, the hearts of all the townspeople went out to this man. They showed great love and compassion towards him once he was dead, because, as the author tells us, at that moment he was no longer a stranger. At that moment he was a brother. Why must we wait until someone dies to recognize in them the brother, the sister? Why do we insist on seeing the stranger in one another? I feel like a stranger in places I do not know. But really, I have felt a stranger my entire life long. Never for one day have I felt that I completely fit in. Even in places where I do speak the language, where I do know the people, where I have connections, where people understand me. Or do they? Each of us can say the same. Each of us is a stranger, for none of us was created for this world. We live here for a few years, maybe here, maybe there, but our true home is elsewhere. Let us not wait until the moment of death to recognize the sister, the brother, the brotherhood of strangers in a strange land. My thoughts wandered further, and I thought of Pope Francis taking his first journey as Pope. In recent years, modern popes have taken many journeys with a lot of fanfare, a lot of expense, a lot of secret agents and guards and security around them as they travel about in a so-called Pope-mobile with bulletproof glass, separated from everyone. Not Francis. Without any fanfare, without any warning, without any security, he went to the most remote island in Italy, a tiny place called Lampedusa, an island that boasts of no particular beauty, an island that is poor, an island that has become known as the point of entry for tens of thousands of freedom-seeking refugees each year. All these so-called illegal people were gathered together, trying to start a new life, trying to escape the oppression in the land of their birth. Many had drowned on the treacherous journey to this island. The Holy Father's compassion went out to all these people. His fatherly love knew no borders, no strangers. In his great love for all, he embraced every one of them. And he vociferously condemned the culture of the developed world, the globalized indifference to the plight of the suffering. He remarked that most of these immigrants and refugees are not of our faith, but he said we must not be afraid of differences, but rather embrace one another as brothers and sisters. And the all-embracing love of this one man did more in the cause of world peace than all the negotiations of all the diplomats in the world, than all the vast armies waiting to destroy one another. Pope Francis saw not the stranger, not the illegal immigrant. He saw the brother, the sister. Our parish, our church, our land would not be what it is without these brothers and sisters whom we would call strangers. We might, with the self-righteousness of the older son in the parable of the prodigal son, say, "Why should he get anything? I did it the right way." Really? This land, and indeed this world, was built upon illegal immigrants. The great 20th century comedian Pat Paulson used to say, "All the problems we face in the United States today can be traced to an unenlightened immigration policy on the part of the American Indian." Indeed, those coming over on the Mayflower came over completely illegally. Not one of them stopped at the customs office of the Native Americans, and I have never seen a copy of a green card issued by the American tribes for those coming over from Europe. Before we see the stranger in another, let us stand before a mirror where we will find one more stranger among strangers. But open the eyes of love, the only eyes worthy of the name human, and we will see nothing more than a brother among brothers, a sister among sisters, prodigal sons and daughters all, desperately seeking to be understood in the arms of a loving Father.